G'day friends, welcome to Beneath the Boots. I've been seeing your comments. Do Avenged Sevenfold, do the Rev. Well, guess what friends? We're doing the Rev. And we're going to talk about two of his kit setups, one from the City of Evil era and one from the self-titled era. We're going to talk about the quirks, his style. It's all about Jimmy Sullivan. It's going to be a fun episode. Let's get stuck into it. All right, so watching the Rev in the City of Evil era, one thing immediately stands out, and that is there's no wasted movement as he tears around the drum set. And with that urgency, every fill still lands with precision. In songs like Beast in the Harlot and Burn It Down, the tempos are relentless at times. However, Jimmy doesn't look like he's chasing these tempos. There he is back there in full control. With absolute ease, this lad. Doing the Tommy Lee stick spins, love it. Pretty sure he was influenced by Tommy. All right, let's get stuck into the kit setup breakdown from this era, City of Evil. And here was a common setup seen on the touring cycle that the Rev used. Now, I've digitally recreated this in Drumstructor and have cross-checked and used reliable sources to get as accurate as an answer as possible. However, as we do know, setups do change from show to show. So usually when you get a snapshot of specs, it's usually from one show on that tour or a couple of shows, but then, you know, the Rev might change it up. So there could be a couple of examples of this setup, but this one here, I've gone with one of the most reliable sources in Modern Drummer, the specs that they've outlined and rebuilt it from that using images and video. So here we have it, a beautiful DW setup here. And absolutely awesome artwork on the kick drum, depicted there. I really like it. It's simple and it's effective. It really stands out. Now, I don't know, these fade kits, I'm not really a fan of the fades finishes. I know there's a lot of you out there that are, but let's get stuck into the actual specs. So here we have twin kick drums. These are 22 by 18, two of these bad boys. And I found it interesting stepping up to the rack tom here, how far across this smallest rack is. Now, this is an 8x8 shell, according to the source I retrieved this info from. But it's kind of in a weird spot. It's over here. And that's what I find interesting about different drummers' setups. What do they call it? Ergonomics, or the way each drummer's body moves and how they, lay out their set based on that. Over here, we have a 10x8 and a 12x10. Now, stepping over down to these toms here, mounted toms. They're not floor toms because they don't have the legs, so we can't really call them floor toms, but they are kind of slanted here, and this is kind of iconic, the Rev. He slants his toms here, which work for him, and obviously are efficient with the fills as he goes around the kit there. Now, this one here is a 14x12. And then we've got a 16 by 14 there. So interesting tom placements and angles of these, what would be usually floor toms. The snare, they had it down as a 14 by 4 bell brass snare. Now that's a shallow snare. I know we've seen the Rev use pork pie and deeper snares, 6.5 depths and all that. But yeah, this source, as you'll see here, has a 14 by 4. Now, that'd have a lot of crack to it. It'd have some volume too, I'd imagine. I don't know if any of you are playing a 14 by 4 depth brass snare out there, but give us some feedback in the comments if you do, guys. All right, so stepping up to the cymbal ranging here, quite an interesting dynamic going on with the splashes and the china, but not uncommon for the Rev, as we've seen throughout his career. It's a bit of a smaller setup here, a bit more compact. So let's start with the hats here. He has a set of 14 AAX hats to the left. An interesting splash cymbal placement. He's got this 10-inch splash quite high, as you'll see, with the little 8-inch. Now, this 8-inch splash is a Mike Portnoy signature max splash. And this one is a AAX 10-inch splash up top here. Now, stepping over here, we've got what's called an 18-inch AAX metal crash. And then another one, another of the same size in this article I read, two of the same cymbals. left and right. And then down here we have a 22 AAX ride and a 19 AAX metal Chinese cymbal. So yeah, quite a compact cymbal setup for the Rev in this era. Now in terms of drum heads, we'll zoom in here. I've done my best to recreate this with the stick markings. Now Evans player, G2 clears on the toms and G1 resonance on the bottoms. The snare was usually a G2 or a power center reverse dot. Yeah, so heavy duty snare head there. And obviously the clear G2 coateds, which give a bit more durability, like a lot of these metal players need with their setups. Now, in this era, he was seen using clear EQ4 batters and black EQ3 resonant heads with this artwork as depicted here. And then in terms of hardware, obviously all DW 9000 series most likely. DW 9000 pedals, which thankfully Drumstructor allows us to add here on these digital recreations. So shout out to Drumstructor on that, adding the DW 9000. So a single kick on each of his kick drums there. And then standard spring tension for the Rev according to this article. So yeah, what do you guys think of this setup? Now, are you guys a fan of the fade finishes here? I know fade finishes were pretty big particularly in the early 2000s, and you'd see the fade sparkle wraps too. Now that rounds out this setup. How do you guys think I went with this one? This one took me a while. I had to really sort of tweak it to get that fade finish. That is the City of Evil drum setup. Let's move on to Self-Titled. Hey mates, quick interruption. If you are getting anything out of today's show, please feel free to like and subscribe to the channel. Helps keep the show on the road and bring more drum brains in like us to talk drums, nerd out about gear and whatnot. Really appreciate your support, guys. So fast forward to the Self-Titled era and the Rev's playing begins to tell a different story. The speed is still there, but there's a much stronger sense of orchestration. Instead of constantly attacking the kit, he moves around it with purpose, making greater use of dynamics, textures, and space. An example of this is in the song Almost Easy, where the addition of a second ride cymbal contributes to creating one of the most recognizable and iconic techniques. And I've got some vision of that right here. Let's take a look. The double ride technique. Oh! Could listen to that all day. Alrighty, so stepping into the Self-Titled era, as mentioned, more orchestration, greater dynamics, more left-hand independence, and writing almost becomes more musical and cinematic. So, in saying that, the kit had to evolve, and it certainly did evolve. Here we have the recreation of the Self-Titled touring era drum setup, the famous snakeskin wrap, DW Collector's Series, absolutely stunning kit, and this time 3 kick drums. So as you can see, that same artwork here as depicted on the last kit, and it's stuck. So it's a pretty prominent logo, and it's just obviously survived the errors of Avenged Sevenfold. So shout out to the Rev there, who is very missed in this world. So as you can see, a monster setup. So I have also created this setup based off articles and bits and pieces from, different sources. However, this one was a bit harder to get extremely accurate. So there might be a couple of things here and there. It is very accurate, but obviously there's a bit of room for movement, as I mentioned before, with show to show and things changing. So this was a snapshot. As you can see, the double portholes on the kick drums. Now let's start with the kicks. In terms of the sizing, we have 3 times 22 by 18 kicks. Now, one of these is not used. It's purely there for aesthetic purposes, but these 2 are. So some people say, what's the point? Well, what's the point? It looks unreal. And it has a big presence on stage, particularly for those massive outdoor festival sets. It just looks unreal from afar. You know, you're a punter way back. you're going to see that kit, and it's going to make an impression. So the Rev has done that, and he's done a fantastic job of expansion here. So yeah, as we mentioned, we've got 3 kick drums, 22 by 18. Now we'll step up here to the toms. Now, there are some additions with his tom setup, his mounted system here. There was talk that there was an extra 8x5, I'm pretty sure, tom over here that he rarely used on touring cycles, mainly in the studio. So this is basically the touring standard. Now let's look at the tom sizing. We have an 8x7, a 10x8, a 12x9, a 14x11 over here. And then we have, for the mounted floor toms, if you will, we have a 16x14 and an 18x16. It looks really comfortable, actually. You know, so as opposed to the last setup, he's got all his toms really tight in here, and that just looks pleasing to the eye. It looks extremely fun to play. I would love to sit down on this kit. I'd just sink hours on this thing. So all these toms are mounted on a DW Super Rack. Now, this is a digital recreation, obviously, but you'll see, you know, evidence of it live in images and videos. There's a bit of speculation with the snare. Now, there is evidence from an article from Drum Magazine back in this era that the Rev was using a 14x5 depth vintage bronze snare. However, live in photographs like this one here pictured, you will see a red snare drum. Now, that threw me off a bit because I thought, well, obviously the Rev would have a few snares up his sleeve, but this red one just appeared, and I kind of did some digging. I couldn't find a definitive answer on what it was. So if any of you guys know any more information on this red snare, it's almost like a DW, you know, cherry burst or something like that. It does have chrome hardware, not black hardware like we see on this kit here, and the vintage bronze snare that I've put there. So yeah, it looks to be 5 depth, 5.5 depth too. Now, the Rev's obviously used 6.5, like we mentioned before. He's used pork pie snares and all that. So he's probably got a few up his sleeve, and he's probably used 6.5 depth on this tour at some points too. So not ruling that out. But this mysterious red snare live that we see in this image, I've recreated that, and I've put it to the side of this kit just for show's sake. Now, let's step up to the cymbals. Like, look at this expansion since the last setup. A lot more effects cymbals now. An extra China, and then you've got the extra ride cymbal that we just saw him use in the studio for that double ride technique. And this is a snapshot from that era. This was prone to change, but this is what I have for my digital career creation, okay? So let's start. We've got a set of 14 AAX hi-hats in brilliant finish here. Up here we have a 22 AAX metal ride in brilliant finish, and that one is the same one on the right that I've rolled with. Under here, we've got a China cymbal. I've rolled with a 19 Paragon Chinese or AAX, which was 2 series that he did use, supposedly. Now, up here, we have a 10 China Kang cymbal. I have actually never hit one of these things, but they seem very enticing. Pretty cool effect, I would imagine. Stepping across here, we have an 18 AAX metal crash. So, yeah, he's obviously been a fan of the metal crash models in the past, and he's kept them rolling through to this era too. Down here, we have an 11 Max Splash. So, a signature Max Splash to the left here. This one here, a chopper effect cymbal, which also intrigues me. Have never played one of those, but yeah, they look pretty cool too. Got a really cool pattern. And then on here, we've got a 10 AAX splash. Up here, a 18 to 20. Now, look, I've rolled with 18 to 20 for both of these because I couldn't get a definitive answer on the actual sizing. AAX metal crashes. Or a signature fierce crash, which I saw somewhere. So, could have been either or. Yeah, we mentioned the ride down here, and then over here we have a AAX Extreme Chinese, 19 inches there. Obviously, epic cymbal setup. Looks great from the front too. Like, let's zoom out. Look at that. Now, if this drum kit was a snake, it would be one of those fierce snakes that you have here in Australia. Highly venomous. Look at the scales. It is a potent drum setup. and absolutely a big fan of this setup. Love the finish. I know I said in the last kit I didn't like the fade finish. I do like wrap finishes, and DW definitely hit with this one. Now let's go to the drum head selection. Has been playing Evans for a long time at this point, and he is still playing Evans. Now, clear hydraulic or G2 on the batters, and as you can see here, these are clears. I've rolled with G1 resonant heads. G2 coated on the snare, and power center reverse dot batter 2 on the snare, typically for Mr. Rev. Bass drum this time, there was evidence of EMADs, so yeah, a bit of a change up in the bass drum department. Hardware, obviously all DW. Still using 9,000 pedals here on the kicks, single kick pedals. All right, friends, I'm keen to hear which setup you prefer out of these two. Now, I know which one is probably more favorable. However, I'm always keen to hear, because everyone's different, everyone works a different way, prefers different things. Some people don't like a lot of drums. Now, I wanted to make this video because you guys asked, and also in memory of the great man himself. Till next time, take care and rock on, guys.